Uno, dos, one, two, tres, cuatro.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Nice to see you. It's nice to be with you. I guess I can't see you. Good morning, everybody. This is Rethink Your Legacy. My name is Francisco Servent. Welcome to the show. And you are stuck with a lawyer for an hour this morning. So, buckle up. And guess what? This might be the first hour ever that you spent with a lawyer where you didn't get a bill. Congratulations, you somehow figured out how to do it. I think really us lawyers need to figure out how to do that more for our clients. Anyway, I'm an estate planning, asset protection, and probate attorney in Chandler, Arizona, out of Keystone Law Firm. We help clients all over the state of Arizona with their estate plan, financials, protecting their assets, winding up a loved one's affairs, anything like that. If you need help with that, the phone number to jot down for your first free phone appointment is 480-750-7788. So save that number. You can call us, you can text us anytime, and just ask any question you want. My team is happy to help figure out what's going on. Today, the topic for today is going to be something something very specific. I try to keep things a little more general most of the time to give you guys a good overview of this asset protection, tax planning, all these things that are happening in the world to bring some chaos to your life. But today I'm going to dive pretty deep on one specific thing because there's not enough lawyers out there who know how to educate people about this, how to make sure you're aware this is an option. And when you don't even know it's an option, how do you even add it? How do you do it, right? If I don't know my car needs an oil change, if I don't even know that that's a thing, my engine's going to, eventually blow up. So here's what we're going to dive into deeply on today. One specific thing, what is very, very standard, and it's not malpractice actually for an attorney to not know what I'm about to share with you guys. So surprisingly enough, my industry, the standards are very low. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. The standard in my industry is that when you draft a will or a trust, you spell out who the beneficiaries are. Obviously, you say who's going to receive this upon my client's death. What is usually done ends up like this. Dad passes away, elderly gentleman. This was an actual case we worked on. And had 5 adult kids. All of them got along great. Really a cool family, actually. One of these families that everybody is very tight-knit, always celebrating holidays together, getting together Sunday dinners, the grandkids all hang out. Just a really cool family. Dad passes away, leaves everything to his 5 adult kids equally. They're all in their 50s and 60s. And his estate wasn't, multimillionaire, but I think he had a house worth a couple $100,000. He had some money, some savings in the bank, a couple $100,000, and he had a little bit in an IRA, a couple $100,000. I think all, totaled up, each of the 5 was going to get between $150,000 to $200,000. I don't remember exactly. It was somewhere in that range. Not so little that you want to just blow it, but not so much that it's going to let you, sail off into the sunset on a yacht. So, but it's enough to be concerned about, right? If somebody's handing you $100,000 or $200,000, you want to take good care of it. It can make a difference in your life. So they're set to inherit. What happens? Well, he had a will, so with a will, you've got to go through probate, so they come to my office and I explain the process so that we could sell the house, we could get them access to the bank accounts, etc. And in the course of that, one of the children gets appointed as the executor, as the personal representative, and we're marching through the process. This all was happening right around 2007, 2008, 2009. By the time we got to the point where we were ready through the court process of probate to make those distributions to the 5 children, two of them, during the course of that time period in life, had lost their jobs. That was the big recession of 2008, 2009. And had, done, everything that they could do, they could try to think of to, not let this happen. But two of the five ended up having to file bankruptcy. They decided that was the best way for them to move forward. And because they had that financial situation happen, both of their inheritances, the entire balance, went straight to the bankruptcy court. Straight to the bankruptcy court, over like close to $300,000 from this dad. But just poof, right? In a moment, just gone. And instead of the dad knowing it went to his kids to help them, get a fresh start in life and restart. I mean, they just had been through something terrible and had financially just devastated themselves. Now they literally have nothing to start over from. That inheritance was gone. Totally gone. This is what the standard in my industry is. If you haven't been told that there's another option than just leaving it outright to your beneficiaries like that, then you're working with somebody or you did work with someone who is a standard in the industry, right? That's the average. And that's what happened with two of these beneficiaries. It was really sad because the other three, they were financially okay. They weren't in bankruptcy, and they were the ones getting their inheritance. And it created this awkward tension in the family. I think they did end up, trying to help them on the side, but the two who were in bankruptcy, like they knew it was their own fault. It was their own responsibility. And, they didn't blame the other three. They didn't blame anything. They just said it was it's our life. So what I want to dive deeply in today is how to not let that happen for your beneficiaries, for your family. You guys, I talk to so many of you every week. You guys are salt of the earth. You're hardworking. You've worked your whole life. You lived frugally. You've tried to instill good values, good financial wisdom in your family. You've tried to be that frugal person saving for the rainy day, and in all likelihood, if you're like most of the clients we work with, you're going to, or you already have, saved up a nest egg that's going to be enough to carry you through retirement, and there's going to be something left over for your family. And you kind of want that. You're happy about that. You're proud about that. As you should be. If that's you, give them not just the gift of a clean process that doesn't go through probate, but give them a gift that actually keeps going. It's called a beneficiary protection trust. And what I want you all to get is my cheat sheet on that. Go to the website and get it. It's at radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Same website every weekend. radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Enter your name and email. The system will send you the cheat sheet, and it will explain to you how a beneficiary protection trust works, and it'll give you some of the concepts so that you make sure you know if this is something your family needs. Today, I'm going to explain this thing in painstaking detail, how it works, how to set one up, who can be the trustee of this thing, how do your beneficiaries get the money out when they want it, what happens if your beneficiary gets into a divorce, what happens if they get sued, what happens if they have to file bankruptcy, what happens when they pass away, if there happens to be money left over. All of these questions. How does this thing work? And even what are the tax consequences? Do they pay more taxes? Do they save taxes? What's the deal here? So we've got a lot to cover, but to help you figure this out, go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Yep, you can just jump on your phone right now, punch open your browser, your Safari, your Chrome, your Google, and just type radio.keystonelawfirm.com. And if you're doing that right now, scroll down. You'll see a little welcome video. Scroll down past that, and there's a little form, name, phone, email, whatever. Just put it all in there, hit submit, and then the system will immediately, maybe a couple minutes, but send it right to you. So you'll have it while we're going through it today. So, I was talking with someone today, and he's like, I listen to you every Sunday morning on my way to get my coffee, so I only catch, bits and pieces of it. So do it right now while you're on your phone, standing in the coffee line, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Not while you're driving, wait till you park. radio.keystonelawfirm.com and get the free cheat sheet on beneficiary protection trusts, okay? If you need help immediately, then you do get a free phone appointment with my office. My team will help you schedule that. All you do is you call or text the number 480-750-7788, and my team will get right back to you Monday morning, okay? All right, after the break, we're going to start digging into this beneficiary protection trust. See you back here in a minute. Hey guys, welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney, your problem solver at law. And today we're talking about a beneficiary protection trust, a very specific tool to help your beneficiaries not lose their inheritance to divorce, to bankruptcy, if they get sued, whatever. This is the way to protect it for your beneficiaries. If you want my cheat sheet on this topic, jump over to the website right now, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and you can get it right there, free. Just enter your name and email. The system will send it right out to you. If you need help with your estate, financial, asset protection, or probate needs, you're taking care of a family member, or you're winding up their affairs, then just call our office. Get some help. Don't do this alone. Your first appointment is free. My team will happily help you get scheduled for that. It's 480-750-7788. And you may be thinking, well, man, I'm not, maybe someday I'll have enough money to justify calling, Keystone Law Firm and working with Francisco. Most of our clients are not multimillionaires. Most of our clients are just normal people who worked their whole life, had a good career, as a teacher, as an engineer, a CPA, even lawyers, judges, doctors. But they just lived frugally. They maybe have either paid their house off or mostly paid it off or something, and they've got a nest egg somewhere, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, or up to $2, $3, $4, $5 million. But most of our clients are not 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. We have very few of those clients. If that's you, congratulations, like you have built some wealth. We would partner with another attorney to help plan your estate, because there's some massive taxes there that you don't want your estate to pay. But our clients, mostly just regular people, like my mom. My mom's a retired school teacher from Mesa. My dad's a retired general contractor. They're very typical type clients of ours. So call if you need help with anything. Today's topic is on the Beneficiary Protection Trust. This is something that I think is worth doing. If the inheritance any one of your beneficiaries is going to get is about $100,000 or more, right? So if you've got, you got 3 kids and you're looking at your estate and you're like, well, it's probably realistic, they'll each get $100,000, when we pass away. This is worth it. And if it's more than that, it's more worth it, because here's what happens. Even if it's just $100,000, quote unquote, just $100,000 inheritance. I mean, this is so burned in my mind. I wish I could take the projection picture in my mind and put it onto a TV or a computer screen for you guys to see. We were working with this family on a separate issue. That's right, I forgot. And while we were working on that, his mom passed away, and she was quite elderly. But his mom passed away. And, he calls me and says, oh my gosh, well, now we have something else we need to work on. So we start to help him organize things and figure out where the assets, where are the bank accounts. And, she did have a will and a trust. And so the trust was done correctly. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. So we did not have to go through probate. And it was a really good thing, too, because his brother was disabled. And so the trust did protect it for the brother, which was great. So anyway, we help him go through the process. We kind of map it out for him. We get to the point where it's time to make the distributions. The mom's total, net worth, the total estate was about $300,000, maybe $400,000. She had a manufactured home on a piece of kind of rural property, and then she had a little bit of money in the bank. And after everything was liquidated and gathered up, there was $350,000, $400,000, and so it was going to go split 50-50 to the kids, to the two sons. And the one who was working with me was the responsible one. The other one was I don't want to say irresponsible, but he was disabled, had some mental cognitive disabilities, and so he couldn't do the job. And we get close to where we're wrapping up. We get towards the end of the process, and he comes back to my office for one of the final appointments. And at the office that I was in at the time, I could see directly out the front door. Actually, in the new office, we can see that. So whatever. So I could see directly out the front door through the glass windows the cars that are pulling up. Well, I see this car pull up, and I'm staring at it like my jaws kind of drops. I'm like, wow, what is, like, the whole light? That's a beautiful car. I mean, it's just I don't know if it's considered beautiful, but it just stood out. It was a bright yellow, brand new Hummer. And my eyes are caught on this thing because you don't see these things pull up every day. And it goes into park, can't really see who's inside. The door opens, can't really see. Person gets out, I still can't really see who it is. And he walks around and comes to the front door, and it's my client on this, issue where his mom passed away and his brother's disabled. And I wrinkle my forehead, and I was like, dude, nice car. And he said, yeah, I decided to blow it all on a new car. And I just wanted to smack him. I mean, sure, it's his choice, right? As I dug a little deeper, yes, he was the responsible son. Even a 65-year-old responsible son has never, ever been trained on what to do with $100,000 or $200,000 pile of cash. I mean, how many of us, me included, right, have been specifically done any kind of training? Okay, if you happen to win a big chunk of money, $100,000, $200,000, make sure you already have a plan for how you're going to, manage it, steward it, take care of it so that it, does something good in your life, as opposed to just a fleeting fancy and a depreciating asset like a car. Especially when the rest of his financial life was not exactly in order. Even our responsible kids need some protection. So that's the other reason why this beneficiary protection trust is important. That's why I love these things. Go get the download, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. It's the cheat sheet for beneficiary protection trusts, and you'll get the tools for this. So you can learn all about it and figure out, does this really fit for my family? Do I want to do this? Radio.keystonelawfirm.com. The way it works is that instead of your will or your trust saying to my beneficiaries outright, so that'll usually be the word that gets used in the legalese is outright. Sometimes there's a couple variations, but that's the pretty typical one. Instead of that, it will say, I give it to my beneficiaries in a trust for their benefit. And then it'll have language that, 3, 4, 5 more paragraphs of how the trust should be administered and managed for them or by them while they truck along through life. The big, huge advantage to this is that when you put this into your plan, when you put this into your documents, and we've seen this, I've personally seen this with client after client who had these, they've passed away, then we meet with the family, we get a chance to do, guess what? We get a chance to actually train them on how to manage this little windfall or this big windfall. We get to train them, right? Not that we're going to give them some magic pill. It's going to be very basic, fundamental stuff, like don't go blow it on a Hummer. So yes, we get to train them, but then it requires them to pause for a second and say, hey, wait a minute, what's this whole thing about it going into a trust? And just that moment of pause requires them to ask for some help. That's when we get to train them and we get to show them, here's how this works. It protects you. It goes on. It's not to be blown, in a weekend in Vegas. So go get your cheat sheet. Go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Go there now before you forget, before you get out of the car, before you move on to something else and just forget this completely falls off your radar. Open your browser, go to Google, type radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Enter your name and email, the system will send it off to you, and then poof, you've got it. It's saved there in your email, the Beneficiary Protection Trust cheat sheet. If you need help with that, or you need help with anything related to your estate, your asset protection, or anything like probate, give our office a call and get your first free appointment scheduled. It's 480-750-7788. When we come back, I'm going to share who can be the trustee and how do they get money out of this thing after it's all set up. Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It's lovely to be here with you on the show, Rethink Your Legacy. My name's Francisco Servent. If you're just joining us, I'm an estate planning and asset protection attorney out of Chandler, Arizona. Keystone Law Firm is our firm's name. We help you really put all your financial affairs in order, protect your whole financial house, whatever that means to you. And sometimes we're helping families create a will or trust. Sometimes we're setting up an asset protection strategy for real estate investors. Sometimes we're helping you take care of a aging parent, helping them set up their finances, helping you manage the responsibilities of acting as their power of attorney. And then, of course, taking care of all the affairs that happen after a loved one passes away. It's a kind of a variety of things, but it's that life cycle of just the things that happen in life, from stage to stage. Today we're covering one very specific thing, the Beneficiary Protection Trust. This is a tool we use a ton. And unfortunately, my industry has not made this standard. And so I know from experience that a lot of you are sitting there without this in your will or your trust. You don't have this because it's not standard. And in fact, as I teach continuing education to other attorneys, I just vividly have in my mind a couple years ago sitting in a ballroom teaching, about 100 plus lawyers, estate planning lawyers, about this technique. And only a couple of them in the room were nodding their head like, yeah, of course, I already knew this. And, I got so many questions like, this is great. What is this? Never heard of this before. And I'm banging my head against the wall thinking, are you kidding me? Have you been living under a rock? But this just isn't standard. This Beneficiary Protection Trust, I've got a cheat sheet for you to download. Go to the website right now and get it. It's radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Enter your name and email. System will email it right directly to you. And save that as a reminder so you can figure this out and decide if this is right for you and your family. So what is it? Essentially, the standard in my industry is that the documents, most people don't even know to tell you this is an option. So the standard is just, goes to the spouse and goes to the kids outright with no strings attached. And that's how it's presented, right? Yeah, you don't want to have any strings attached. You want to give them their inheritance. Okay. Well, if you do that, you also give it to any of the problems they might have in life. Whether it's their own problems, their own financial irresponsibility, or if, something happens that wasn't even their own fault, or was just a pure accident. The worst, I don't know if it's the worst, but just a horrible situation happened a number of years ago. Friend of a friend crashed into somebody at Sky Harbor Airport. Complete accident, just a freak accident, guys. It happens, and really destroyed somebody's life. Didn't kill somebody, thank God, but really destroyed his life. Ended up with a massive lawsuit against him. Those kinds of things happen, and if you haven't put any strings around the inheritance, it can be lost in just a flash of a moment. So the beneficiary protection trust, here's how it works. After you pass away, goes to your beneficiaries inside of a sub-trust of your own trust. So here's how mine works. My wife and I, we have 4 kids. It goes to each other first, obviously, if one of us passes, but then it goes into the sub-trust for the kids if both of us should pass away. So how does that work? Mechanically speaking, our trustee will start the job. I need to do a show on the job of a trustee again. But the trustee will pick up the job. And, they got to pay taxes, bills, expenses. They got to account for everything. They got to make sure everything's all in order and kind of liquidate the house maybe. They got to do stuff. They get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to start cutting checks. Instead of writing a check to my son, my daughter directly and handing them a check in their name, what they do with a beneficiary protection trust is they hand them a check, but it says, so like my oldest daughter, her name is Isabella. Her check would say, to Isabella, trustee of Isabella's subtrust under Francisco and Nicole's trust. And then that is her own new trust name. So then she takes that to the bank. She opens a bank account in that name with herself as the trustee. That is one of the options. And she can then manage it in that bank account. She can use that bank account to open an investment account in the same name. She can use those funds to buy a piece of real estate in the same trust name. She can use those funds to start a new business that's owned by that trust as the owner of the new business. Lots of ways she could use it. Lots of ways it can be used. Anything that is owned in that trust name stays asset protected from Isabella's potential problems in life. And so, God forbid, but say, she's grown, she's married, and after an inheritance, there's a divorce. Spouse files for divorce, she files for divorce, whatever. God forbid, but say it happens. In the course of that, there's going to be lawyers involved, and the lawyers on the other side are going to be creative enough to try to allege that, or they're going to look to see if they can make this allegation that she commingled her inheritance into all of the community property. And in fact, if she didn't have this special beneficiary protection trust, it's really, really hard for a married couple to not commingle things. And it's just usually what happens. It gets commingled, or they buy community expenses with it, or they take the family on community vacations, or they buy a community car, or they use it to put a down payment on a community house, or they use it to pay off the mortgage of a community house, whatever, right? It gets commingled. Well, Isabella, she has a beneficiary protection trust. She wouldn't do that. If she pulled money out to do any of those things, only the amount she pulled out and used towards those community things could be considered a community, commingled with the community. But the balance, the rest of it, nope, absolutely not. So it gets that level of protection. So that's how it gets, that's sort of how it works. go get my handout. Go get the cheat sheet on this so that you can figure this out a little bit better than I'm explaining it. At radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Just jump on that website, enter your name and email. The system will send it to you. radio.keystonelawfirm.com. So who else can be a trustee? Well, you can. I'm gonna run out of time on this on this. I'll go into more on the next segment, but the trustee can be anybody you designate. It can be the beneficiary. If you want, it can be somebody else. You could set one child as trustee for all the kids. Sure, if that's the right dynamic for your family, then great. You could even set a neutral third party as the trustee. You could name a trust company, you could name a fiduciary, maybe you have a CPA, maybe you have a friend who's willing to serve in that role. Great. Any of those work in Arizona. Because this is a beneficiary protection trust, you can choose any of the options. You can even make, the child one trustee plus a co-trustee somebody else. Lots of variety, lots of flavors. We'll talk some more pros and cons after the break about the different options there. And then we'll talk about also how do they get money out, Say they want to buy a car, they want to go on vacation, they want to pay off their mortgage, etc. What do they do? And then we'll also pick up and I'll do a quick recap on the tax aspects of it. Because, I know the tax issues are always fun. But anyway, go get the cheat sheet at the website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. And I also just want to really encourage those of you who are in that stage of life. You're right at that cusp of retirement, 65 plus or minus a little bit. And maybe you've got a trust from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or more. I want to encourage specifically you to call and get a free phone appointment scheduled, because those are the ones that are the best ones to fix right away. It's easy for you. It's not hard. You just got to do it, and you can even add the beneficiary protection trust to it during that update process. I just see too many of these things getting out of date. So specifically, if you're in that range, give us a call and get that first free phone appointment scheduled. It's 480-750-7788. If you're like, I can't make a phone call right now, send a quick text. My team will just follow up on Monday, tomorrow morning. 480-750-7788. No harm in getting that first, what's the downside, to getting that first phone appointment scheduled, to just learn what you need to do. 480-750-7788. All right, we'll be back after the break. Good morning. Welcome back, guys. This is Francisco Servent, and you're listening to Rethink Your Legacy. This is a show. Why am I doing this show? Because there's just too much bad information out there. And every single day, I talk to families who are in trouble and just didn't even know that there was a way that it could have been avoided. So you're here. If you've been around the whole hour, you're getting an hour with a lawyer every single week with no bill at the end. You have figured out the master ninja secret. I think more lawyers need to figure out that this is actually a good thing to do. Share what we know freely. So anyway, welcome back to the show. I invite you guys to come back every Sunday. It's every Sunday right here from 7 to 8 a.m. And I've covered so much stuff over the last, 60 or some episodes. And by now, I really, if you have listened to all of them, you're smarter than most of the estate planning attorneys in town. So good job. Stick around. Keep coming back for more. Today, the topic is Beneficiary Protection Trust. I want you to get the free cheat sheet on that so that you can decide if your family needs this. It's at radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Scroll down just a bit, enter your name and email, and the system will send it right to you. Radio.keystonelawfirm.com. You can type that right into Google, right on your browser, on your phone, your iPad, your computer, whatever you got. With regard to the beneficiary protection trust, I dropped off a little bit too soon before the break on the concept of who your trustee should be. Your trustee first needs to be somebody who you trust just implicitly. They don't have to have financial savvy. They have to be trustworthy. That is the key ingredient. Without that, nothing else matters. With that, they can figure everything else out. Okay, so trustworthy is number one. If it's not your child, say you're leaving something to your kids and one of your children just should not be their own trustee. Okay, you've acknowledged that. What are your choices there? Well, one thing you can do is you could put them in as co-trustee with either another child or with a third-party neutral, professional, and make it a co-trustee situation where they can't take it out all on their own. The co-trustee has to agree. So that gives them a level of protection. If you're going to add somebody as a co-trustee, I am. What's the opposite of being a fan of something? I am 180 degrees the opposite of being a fan of naming two individual family members as co-trustees. I hate it every single time we've had to deal with it. It is a pain in the butt. Banks don't like it. Title companies don't like it. The IRS doesn't like it. Nobody likes it. Even the co-trustees themselves hate it because it's cumbersome, it's painful. It just isn't a good thing. It'd be like saying, yes, in this country, we should have two presidents, one from the Republican Party and one from the Democratic Party. How well would that go, right? You need to bite the bullet. You need to be the leader of your estate, and you just need to put somebody in charge. If you need somebody to act as co-trustee, my recommendation is that person be a professional. We don't do that. I can't even promote myself for that role, right? I recommend you make a professional that co-trustee. It will preserve the relationship between your family members. Making them co-trustees together over financial issues, it will not enhance their relationship with each other. I just, from the bottom of my heart, I tell you it will not. Especially if you're a blended family, do not put one kid from each side. That is the same thing as saying we need two presidents, one from each side of the aisle, and then saying, okay, you two go run the country. Bad idea. Make your wishes known, make them legal, designate somebody to carry them out that you trust. Okay, that's the trustee issue. The tax issue, go get the download, go get the cheat sheet, go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. You can type that in your phone, on your browser, on Safari, on Google, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. You should be doing that right now if you haven't done it already. radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Go get that, enter your name and email, save it so that you know what the issues are. You can talk about it with your family. The tax issues here, what you need to know is that there's really two ways it can be set up. The preferred way, what we generally do, is we make these beneficiary protection trusts tax neutral, meaning it doesn't change the tax situation for your beneficiary, whether they had the beneficiary protection trust or they just inherited the assets. It's the same tax result, and it's the same year after year after year. So, what does that mean, Francisco? Does that mean they have to get a tax ID number? Yeah, they have to get a tax ID number. Oh my gosh, well that means it's going to be so complicated. They have to file another tax return. Really? It's not that complicated. You call the same CPA who's doing your tax return and say, I need to do a 1041 now. Those are for this kind of thing, it's a rather simple return. It's simpler than most individual returns. So you just give them a couple $100 a year and let it be protected. We're talking about, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million. How much is going to be sitting in this thing for your beneficiaries? Let them have the gift of being protected so that this is a blessing for their life. So what happens if there's money left over when they die? That's, the ultimate, legacy gift. The thought of that is just enormous. If you take $100,000, plunk it into an investment account, just, something simple, an index fund. No real management fees. No, you don't even have to watch it. If you just plunk it in there, shut your eyes to it for 30 years, it'll grow by 10, 11, 12% per year. That's like generally what the S&P does, all the indexes do. If you leave it alone, $100,000 turns into like over $1 million, and then all of a sudden the grandkids, their life is totally different. They have a totally different nest egg coming their direction. So, yeah, you can plan for that, and we do that too. That's pretty fun. And then what happens you can actually either let your child, your beneficiary, designate who it goes to on their death, or you can make that determination yourself. You can say, hey, if you pass away and there's still money left over, it goes to this person or the next generation or whatever. All right? There's so much more about beneficiary protection trust that we need to cover. We're out of time. We're just about out of time. So go to the website right now. I encourage you. No risk, right? You're just going to go get it. Get this handout, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. This cheat sheet, I wish, if you're a lawyer listening and you do any kind of asset protection, estate planning, go get this. Challenge me on it. Ask me questions about it. I will teach you this whole strategy. It's not my own invention. I have no claim like a patent or trademark on it. I learned it from others. Happy to share this with any of you. Please get this information. Go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com and educate yourself about this. If you need help, how else can Keystone Law Firm help? We do help families all over the state of Arizona with any estate planning or asset protection issues. Most specifically, I would encourage you, if you're at that retirement age, that's 65 years old or a little less or a little more, and you've got that trust from 5 or 8 or 10 years ago, it's been nagging at you, especially with COVID and the pandemic all still pumping up the health fears that are, that we all should have some healthy fears of, right? None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Then call us and get your first free appointment scheduled. Anywhere in the state of Arizona you're hearing this, call us and set it up. 480-750-7788. You could also text. Just pop your text messages open right now. Type 480-750-7788. Say, I think I need some help. My team will follow up with you Monday morning and get it scheduled. All right, that is all the time we have today. Guys, go out there, make it a blessed day, start creating that new legacy.